Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of Bits and Pieces. This is a series just for Visual Studio subscribers, and I am your host, April Edwards. I'm a developer and work for GitHub. So just like you, I want to know what tools I can use to help me develop applications more effectively. I want to thank you for joining us today. We'll be going through all of the bits and pieces of getting started with a Visual Studio subscription. Now, there's more to a Visual Studio subscription than just the bits. Did you know that your subscription includes access to a comprehensive set of tools and resources that speed up development, promote collaboration, and allow you to innovate from anywhere on any platform? Now, whether you've been a subscriber for some time or you're just getting started with a new subscription, you'll find this episode helpful to get the most out of your subscription. Now, we really need your feedback and comments. We appreciate any feedback and ideas for topics to cover off in future episodes, because we're here to help you, our community. To set expectation, in today's episode, I'll briefly show you different ways that you can get a subscription and then give you a quick overview of all the subscription levels. From there, I will walk you through the subscriptions portal, where you can find information about your subscriptions, your amazing benefits, and get access to your downloads and keys, different support resources, how to set your Visual Studio profile preferences, and also how to contact your subscription administrator. I will then highlight a few included benefits to help you get started. You ready? Let's go. Now let's start off with an overview of subscription levels and purchasing paths. There are two main types of subscription levels. You have Visual Studio Enterprise and Visual Studio Professional. There are some differences to note with each subscription. You'll have different versions of Visual Studio IDEs, Azure Credit, Azure DevOps, Power BI Pro, which you would get with Visual Studio Enterprise. You'll get different dev test software and training benefits. All of this will be different. So basically, premium access means more benefits. There are some other types of subscriptions. We have the MSDN platforms and Visual Studio Test Professional, but we won't be discussing those today. Subscriptions can also be purchased through various models and mechanisms. So we have volume licensing, we have marketplace via an Azure subscription, and the Microsoft Store. We also call this a retail subscription. So if you're watching this video as a developer in a larger organization, it's likely your company has a volume licensing agreement already in place. So let's have an overview of how this type of purchasing works. Now, volume licensing is generally used by medium to large companies where they are purchasing larger quantities of subscriptions. These organizations are able to leverage volume licensing agreements for special pricing based on the size of the company or organization. Visual Studio subscriptions can be purchased among other types of licenses and products using agreements organized under the master agreements between Microsoft and the organization. And this is actually facilitated by a reseller. Now, your subscription may be valid for a year, or it could extend multiple years. This is all depending on the existing agreement your company has set up with Microsoft. Organizations with enterprise agreements within the volume licensing world are eligible to purchase Visual Studio subscriptions with GitHub Enterprise. These are a bundle that include subscriptions, providing these teams with end-to-end solutions, enabling them to deliver quality at scale. This bundle also includes access to GitHub Enterprise, increasing your developer velocity, and by providing security at every step of your development process. The way you begin with a subscription depends entirely on where and how it was purchased. For example, Microsoft Store subscriptions must be activated by the user with the product key from the payment confirmation page or email. But on the other hand, you have subscriptions that were purchased through volume licensing. There is no activation step. You'll receive your email once your administrator has assigned you a subscription, and then you're good to go. So once you've been made aware of your subscription, you can then access all of your benefits, and this includes the IDE, but you'll get all access to this by signing into the subscriptions portal linked in that very email. You can also get started right away by downloading the Visual Studio IDE from visualstudio.com. Go ahead and sign in with that identity that's associated with your subscription. So let's go ahead and see if I received my activation email. Now here's that email notifying me that I've been assigned a new Visual Studio Enterprise with GitHub Enterprise subscription by my administrator. So let's begin by selecting the link in the email. If you've never created a Visual Studio profile before with the assigned email alias that you'll be using, you will be prompted to do so upon your first time entering the subscriptions portal. Now, this profile is not strictly for Visual Studio subscriptions, but for the whole suite of Microsoft developer tools and surfaces. Now, this also includes Azure DevOps, Visual Studio subscriptions, and Azure. So once you go ahead and click on that email, there's a window that pops up to make sure that we want to verify our details and our information. So we want to make sure that we have our correct name, our email, and the country. And I'm going to go ahead and select Continue. Right after I completed my form, I was auto-directed to the subscriptions portal. Now, this profile is backed by Azure DevOps. So once you hit the Continue button, you'll receive a welcome email from Azure DevOps. But you can ignore that email for the time being. So here we go. I'm now signed in to the subscriptions portal. The first time you visit the subscriptions portal, you'll land on a page with a short introductory video. When you're done, select the button to go to My Benefits, and you'll land on the default Benefits tab. The URL for this is my.visualstudio.com/benefits. And this will be linked in the description below. So make sure you bookmark this URL for easy access in the future. Now, at the top of the portal, you will see a menu that will take you to different tabs in the portal. You'll have access to benefits, downloads, a tab for product keys, your subscriptions, get help, and marketplace. Now that you're familiar with the main benefits page, you may need to access your profile. So to do this at any time, go to the upper right-hand corner of the subscriptions portal and you will see your name listed. Go ahead and select your name and a page will load with your Visual Studio profile. Now on the left-hand side here, I can see my alias information and an Edit My Profile button. So let's go ahead and edit our profile. So from here, it opens up another page and it gives me two tabs, About and Preferences. This will allow me to edit my profile, set the locale, set my language preferences, as well as an opt-in to emails from the Visual Studio product family. This includes the monthly Visual Studio subscriptions newsletter, which is only available to paid subscription levels. As I mentioned previously, the Benefits tab is the default or main page in the portal, and it shows you the tools, services, and special offers included with your subscription. Now keep in mind, the benefits included in your subscription vary based on the type of subscription you have. To see which benefits are included in various subscriptions, you can check out the Visual Studio subscriptions benefits comparison page at the link included in the description below. If you don't know what subscription level you have, a good place to look is on the subscriptions tab. So let's have a look and confirm what level of subscription I have. So here you can see the subscription information in the table at the top. Now, as a reminder, in this video, we're going to be focused mostly on Visual Studio Enterprise with GitHub Enterprise subscription, which we can see listed here. Going back to the main benefits page, we can look just under the portal menu and we'll see at the top of the page, we have a featured benefit. This is on the left-hand side of the page. If you have more than one subscription assigned to the same identity, including a free Dev Essentials membership, you'll see them in the picker on the right-hand side. So if I go down to my picker on the right-hand side here, I can see that I have Visual Studio Professional listed. I want to go ahead and make sure I've selected the correct subscription in the dropdown, since it does change what benefits I'm eligible for. And yep, we're going to go ahead and change this to Visual Studio Enterprise with GitHub Enterprise selected. So below the picker, all the benefits are displayed as tiles. By default, all of your benefits are displayed when you visit the portal. The tiles are actually grouped into three categories that we can see here. They're going to be probably the ones that are most interest to you. So you have your tools, professional development, and support. So to narrow down this list, just select one of those categories. You can find more information about each of the benefits in the documentation for Visual Studio subscriptions, which is also linked in the video description for easy access. Now, I'm going to come back and highlight a few of the benefits after we complete our tour of the portal. You can skip directly to the benefits by selecting the chapter in the description below. Now we're going to move over to downloads and product keys. Now, it's just called the Downloads tab for short because really the name is too long for the tab title. Visual Studio subscriptions provide access to a wide range of Microsoft products for designing, developing, testing, and demonstrating applications. Now, the Downloads tab was recently updated, and this is where you can find all the downloads that are available to you and product keys associated with them. Your available downloads depend on your subscription level. If you're in a program that doesn't include downloads or your admin has disabled downloads, you won't have access to software downloads or the product keys. The subscriber portal will show you an error message that tells you if your administrator has actually disabled access. If you have an admin and are not sure why you don't see any downloads, you can use the Contact My Admin feature in the portal to reach out. Remember, retail subscriptions do not have an admin. So over here on the right-hand side of the page, I'm going to go ahead and look at the Contact My Admin button. From this Contact My Admin button, all I need to do is select it. I need to ensure that I've selected the correct subscription. So here I've listed Visual Studio Enterprise with GitHub Enterprise, and I need to type my message to my admin here. I can also select the box, Send Me a Copy. I'm going to go ahead and send my admin that request. So let's head back over to our downloads. And now our downloads are going to range from updates and patches to an extensive library of current products, as well as older versions so you can test your apps in a variety of scenarios. Now, there's not a subscription picker here like there was on the Benefits tab. Instead, it's going to start with a search bar and a short list of popular products. So you can either search or select one, which then moves you to a more detailed search page. So let's go ahead and search for the product we're looking for. I want to go ahead and look for Visual Studio. And actually, I'm using Visual Studio 2019. So let's see how many options I have for that. Now on the left-hand side here, I can filter between only seeing the downloads that are available to my subscription level or all the downloads that are available to any subscription level. Now this is helpful if you don't see a download specifically listed for you, but you think you should have it. Now likely the download is only available for certain levels. But you can go ahead and use the search bar to look for a specific product name, using the product family filter on the left rail to narrow down a different way. So I can go ahead and select the Visual Studio Enterprise 2019 here, and it will pull up the product Visual Studio Enterprise 2019. If there are multiple versions available under one product name, you will see a drop-down picker. Now, as we see that I've looked at Visual Studio Enterprise 2019, we can also see that there's a column to pick the language, and most importantly, the Get key and the download buttons. When you select the download button, it will automatically start the download for you. Now, some of these products require product keys during the installation. So you'll see the Get key functionality here as well. So we need to make sure first we choose the correct version. We need to make sure we have the settings we want, what language we want, and what architecture we want to run from. And then we want to select the Get key option, and we want to go through the prompts to claim the key. So I'm going to go ahead and select to claim the key. All right, now we're going to head over to the Product Keys tab. We see all the keys available in a list. And here we probably want to get more granular and search here to find something more specific. So we just assigned and claimed a key for Visual Studio Enterprise 2019. So I'm going to go ahead and search for that. Now we can see all the versions that we do have available, but more specifically, I can see the exact version 16.11 that we've just assigned ourselves. Now we can also export these keys for safekeeping. Now a cool little side note. The paid subscriptions we're discussing today are eligible for perpetual license for the Visual Studio IDE. What this means is that you can continue to use the current version of the IDE after your subscription has expired, but you won't receive updates to future versions. So for example, I can continue using Visual Studio Enterprise 2019 version 16.11 that I have up here on my screen, and I can use this after my subscription has expired, but I won't receive updates once this version is out of support, and I won't be able to access future versions past 16.11. So to continue using the IDE after expiration, you'll need to download the product key before your actual subscription expires. Then after claiming the key, you'll use it to activate your IDE installation. I would highly, highly recommend claiming your keys for the version that you're currently working from. It is also really important to download the keys from the latest version that is currently available. So go ahead and export all your keys and keep those keys safe. Now let's head over to the subscriptions tab. Remember, we already briefly visited this page to find out what subscription level I have. In the table near the top is information regarding any subscriptions associated with your sign-in account. Now, this table shows all sorts of great information. It's going to tell us the subscription level, subscription ID, the type, the valid through date, and a link to a pop-up with details for help with support. You can switch between subscriptions by selecting the link on the subscription name that you want to view on the benefits page. Now, you can also enter or leave the Dev Essentials program by using the blue box here on the right. All you have to do is click on it and you can join the Dev Essentials program. Now, moving down from there, there's a section to renew and activate new retail subscriptions. Since we don't have any, we're going to go ahead and move on. So in case you want to connect an alternate account, you can achieve this by adding an alternate email to your subscription to activate your monthly Azure Dev Test individual credit, access Azure DevOps, and also use it to sign into the Visual Studio IDE. Now, please note that adding an alternate email account does not provide a copy of your subscription to your alternate email or change your subscription sign-in for my.visualstudio.com. So I'm going to go ahead and add an alternate email account. Now, let's say that I have a Microsoft account that I want to connect to. I'm going to go ahead and enter it here. All I need to do is add that account. It's really as simple as that. Now, let's say I need to change or remove my alternate account for pretty much any reason. So it's really easy to change it. I just click on the pencil here and I can go ahead and edit that account. But then let's say I need to remove that account. All I need to do is select the trash button and confirm. Please keep in mind that if you've previously activated Azure DevOps or the monthly Azure Dev Test individual credit with the account you are removing, editing it will disconnect these benefits. You will lose access to those resources, and like I say, check twice and delete once. We're going to look at the Get Help tab. This is where you have access to all sorts of support resources to help you resolve questions related to subscription sales, accounts, and billing. Now, this support is in addition to and separate from the support benefits found in the support category on the benefits page that we saw earlier. We're going to come back to that topic shortly. So this page begins with the same getting started video that popped up on our first sign-in into the portal. Now, just in case you didn't watch the welcome video the first time, you have another opportunity to watch it here. Now, on this same page, we have a list of frequently asked questions alongside some really valuable answers. If we go down a little bit further, we have a section here for support cases. This will allow us to list any recent or current support cases and the ability to create a new support case. And below that, we have a list of helpful links. And this is great to get a selection of really good documentation and maybe some other useful resources. Now, let's say I have an issue with my Visual Studio subscription account. I can select the link to create a new support case. Now, to start, there is the ability to use the self-help option on the left-hand side that will give me some assisted support resources. To find those resources, I need to select the pertinent drop-down options. So first thing I need to do is select the subscription that this applies to. This time, we're going to use our Visual Studio Enterprise with GitHub Enterprise subscription, and I need to choose a category. Now, in this case, I'm having some issues using some software. I also have some other options onto the subject, and I'm having some issues with some software features. And what's my issue? Let's go with Azure DevOps Technical Support. Now that I've selected the appropriate issues in the drop-down box to address my issue, I can see on the right-hand side here, we have a list of things that will help me self-serve and get support. So first off, we have the Azure DevOps Technical Support. Then we have Azure DevOps documentation, which is fantastic because there's so many tutorials, troubleshooting guides, and helpful resources to get you through Azure DevOps. Then you also have access to the Azure DevOps developer community. Then you can also look at the public Q&A availability with Azure DevOps under Stack Overflow. This is a really good way to get some help and to peruse these options and see if any of these help you get started faster. Now, let's say this issue is still persistent and it's not solved, and I have further questions. I'm then given the option down here on the bottom to submit a case directly to support. So I can submit a support case by calling or chatting with support or by tapping the online request that's down here at the bottom. So if I go ahead and select that link, it's going to give me a slide out on the right-hand side, and I'm going to go ahead and fill that out and open up a support case. A ticket will be created on the support side, and an agent will reach out to me either via email or phone as I requested. Now, as we go back to the Get Help tab, I can see my recent support case is listed here at the bottom. Keep in mind, when you reach out to Visual Studio subscription support, they can only assist with issues related to sales, subscription, alongside account and billing issues. If you need help using a product or a benefit that comes with your subscription, you'll need to contact that product support team. Some options for product support are included as links in the video description below. Now, don't forget, you also have the option to use feedback.azure.com, and also almost all the Microsoft product groups have a repo listed under github.com/Microsoft. You can open up an issue and give feedback directly to there. Now we're going to go take a look at the Marketplace tab. This is a great place for quick access to all things in the Marketplace. When you select the Marketplace tab in the menu bar, a new browser tab will open. From the Marketplace, you can download the latest extensions for the Visual Studio family of products, as well as build and publish your own extensions. Now, my favorite extension is the GitHub Copilot extension. I use that in my IDE every day, and it's my favorite AI pair programmer, and it's my rubber duck, and I use it daily. Now, let's go back and talk about some of the other benefits that are included in your subscription. Let's start with the monthly Azure credit benefit. If I go down here on my screen, I can see that the Azure monthly credit benefit is showing $50 for monthly credit. Now, most subscriptions include Azure credits that you can use to explore and try Azure resources. The number of Azure credits you receive depends on the type of Visual Studio subscription that you have. Now, I can see the $50 monthly credit, but it's also showing in the picker up here, Visual Studio Professional. I want to go ahead and select Visual Studio Enterprise with GitHub Enterprise because that is the subscription that we're focused on. And we can see here that my Azure subscription has shown an increase to $150 monthly credit. So remember, Visual Studio Enterprise subscriptions include $150 per month, and professional subscriptions include $50 per month. Note that not all subscription levels have Azure credit. So if you have a subscription level outside of what I'm showing you, you'll need to check your eligibility in the benefits comparison linked below. Please be aware, these Azure credits are for individual dev test usage only and can't be pooled together. So remember, you should not put any production workloads in these subscriptions. You will need to use a paid Azure subscription for these. Once you activate your credit benefit, you can create a new Azure subscription and can start using your Azure credits right away. So let's go ahead and activate this Azure benefit. Now this tile is going to go ahead and direct me to the Azure signup page. I'm going to go ahead and fill out my details to get my subscription started right away. Once you've activated the benefit, you can go straight to the Azure portal at portal.azure.com and sign in directly. From there, you can deploy and manage all of your Azure resources. There's no credit card required to use your credits, and you can't exceed your limit. And there's no cost passed on to you or your company. This is an awesome benefit that gives you a sandbox to learn and test various Azure resources. Now, when you reach your monthly cap for your credits, your Azure services will actually stop until your next monthly credits are added. Unless, however, you choose to remove the spending cap, which you can do by adding a payment instrument and enabling discounted pay-as-you-go. So let me show you how to do this. So from the Azure portal, we want to navigate to the cost and management blade. There's a couple ways to do this. Anytime you're trying to navigate around the Azure portal, you go ahead and use the search bar at the top, and that will literally pull through tons of options related to the search that you're looking for. You can also go to the left-hand side using the hamburger button and select cost management and billing. Once we get to cost management and billing, we want to go ahead and select subscriptions. I want to go ahead and verify that I'm selecting the correct subscription because you might have access to quite a few. From my subscription, I can see all the details related to my subscription ID and everything else. You can also see here at the top, I have a banner. It's telling me how many credits I have remaining for this billing cycle. I have 125 British pounds left of my credits. Now, because I'm located in the UK, it's taken my $150 credit and converted it to the local currency, which is 125 pounds. So I can go ahead and click here to remove my spending limit. Now you have the option to do two things from here. You can remove your spending limit indefinitely or for the current billing cycle only. Selecting the option to remove spending limits indefinitely does prevent the spending limit from automatically getting enabled at the start of the next billing period. However, you can turn it back on yourself at any time. Make sure that if you remove the cap, you keep an eye on the services you're running. There will be no reminders that your cap was turned off, nor will it prompt you to turn it back on. Any services you run that go over your allocated credits each month will be in fact billed. My suggestion would be to always shut down your services right away when you're done testing so you don't forget. Now, I would highly recommend setting up some billing boundaries and alerts. So let's go back to the cost management blade and get those set up. We're back here in our Visual Studio Enterprise subscription pane. And from here, we can see the whole cost management panel. We have an option to look at cost alerts and set up budgets. Now, there's also an Azure pricing calculator for planning out how much something will cost and plenty of documentation to read on all things Azure. Now, as well as configuring these billing boundaries, I also configure some automation to shut down my resources when they're not in use. This helps me from getting caught out. Now, you can do this from the portal by configuring a shutdown time on resources. You can do this by time of day, off hours, etc. Or you can use various automation tools to shut down your unused resources. Personally, I leverage the GitHub Enterprise licensing to configure a GitHub Actions workflow. This workflow will destroy all of my deployed resources each time I close a pull request. I am then only using resources when I need them, minimizing my billing costs and not allowing resources to run when they're not in use. If you do find that you need to deploy more resources in Azure and decide to remove the spending cap, subscribers also benefit from exclusive discounted Azure Dev Test rates for various Azure services, enabling cost-efficient development and testing for as long as you have a current subscription. This is your personal sandbox for Dev Test. If you need help figuring out how to use your credits, check out some of the usage scenarios linked in the description below to get started. Now, there's a multitude of technical Azure videos out there showing you how to consume Azure services. So I have a question for you. As the community, what do you think about an episode just for subscribers like yourselves that dives into cost with relation to the monthly credit? Let us know in the comments. Now, let's go back to our benefits. Now, moving back to the benefits tab, let's talk about the GitHub Enterprise benefit. No matter where you are as a developer, Visual Studio and GitHub Enterprise is the modern engineering solution to plan, code, build, test, release, deploy, operate, and monitor your software. So GitHub Enterprise is managed by GitHub admin separately from Visual Studio subscriptions. This admin may be different than your Visual Studio subscriptions administrator. So if you've been assigned a bundle subscription, such as Visual Studio Enterprise or Professional with GitHub Enterprise, your GitHub Enterprise benefit will show the state of pending. So for example, on my screen, I am on my Visual Studio Enterprise with GitHub Enterprise subscription, and here I can see the GitHub Enterprise pending on my screen now. Now, when your GitHub admin assigns you to a GitHub organization, you will then receive an email from GitHub notifying you that your Visual Studio subscription has been in fact linked. Now, this can happen right away, or it can take some time to set up a GitHub organization. You may need to reach out to your GitHub Enterprise admin to activate your subscription benefit. So I'm going to go ahead and check my email. I can see that I've received an email from my administrator letting me know that my GitHub admin has already added me to an existing organization. So let me show you what getting started looks like. I'm going to go ahead and join that organization, and I need to pick a username. So I need to go ahead and enter in my email address, and I also need to go ahead and enter in my password. So if you find yourself waiting to be assigned to a GitHub organization, you can try it out while you wait by simply signing in with a free trial account. To get started with a free trial account, just go to resources.github.com/getting-started/enterprise. Don't worry, we'll put that link for you below in the show notes. Now that my administrator has set me up and I've gotten my GitHub handle ready, I can go into this landing page. Now on this page, there's a lot of amazing resources. I can start a new repository. I can introduce myself with a README file, but there's also some really good tools that you can look at to get started with, whether that's Visual Studio Code or installing GitHub Desktop. But then there's a great tutorial and onboarding guide getting started on GitHub. I would highly, highly recommend spending some time reading about all of the great features that are included with GitHub Enterprise. We're going to go back to our benefits tab and let's move on to Pluralsight. Now, volume licensing and retail Visual Studio subscriptions like the one I'm showing you today include a Pluralsight training benefit to help you advance your skills with expert authored courses and learning paths for Microsoft technologies. It is absolutely crucial as a developer and a technologist to continue our learning daily. Now, Visual Studio Enterprise subscribers are eligible for 6 months, whereas professional subscribers are only eligible for 3 months. Now, this is a renewable benefit and should start over when your subscription renews. So let's go through this activation. So we can see here that I am under my correct subscription, Visual Studio Enterprise, and I can go ahead and activate my Pluralsight subscription. And down here, it says that I have 6 months available. So I'm going to go ahead and select the button on the tile, and then I'm going to be directed to a Pluralsight page to fill out all of my account details. I'm going to go ahead and put in all my contact information and select Redeem. Pluralsight is now going to send an activation email, and from that, I will then have access to Pluralsight. I can go back to the Benefits tab in the subscription portal and see a countdown timer on the Pluralsight tile. So I can see here that I have 6 months remaining, but it also shows me the date in which I activated my account and when it expires. Now this tells me how much time is left on this benefit. Now I don't need to come back to this tile again to sign into Pluralsight. I just go directly to the Pluralsight page and enter in the sign-in details I set up during my activation. Next up, we're going to talk about LinkedIn Learning. This is another learning benefit included with your paid Visual Studio Enterprise and professional subscriptions. Now, this is a one-time subscription to LinkedIn Premium that includes LinkedIn Learning as well. Now, this benefit is one of my favorites as there is so much content available today that really apply to my day-to-day work, but also technical learnings that help me advance myself in my career. Now, the length of your LinkedIn subscription depends entirely on the type of Visual Studio subscription that you have. Enterprise receives 6 months and Professional receives 3 months. Going down to my tile, we can see that I have access to a 6-month premium subscription since I have Visual Studio Enterprise. Now, make sure you're ready to use this when you activate it, as this benefit is non-renewable. Each email address is only eligible for this offer once, so take advantage of it. You will also need to have a LinkedIn account to take advantage of this benefit. If you don't already have one, that's okay. You'll have a chance to create one before you activate your premium subscription. Now let's move on to the support tiles. Now, unfortunately, software does break, and you will need to reach out to technical support. But the good news is, in this technical support tile, you have this benefit for resolving break-fix issues in non-production environments for products that are still in the mainstream support phase of their support lifecycle. Now, Visual Studio Enterprise subscriptions include 4 incidents, while Visual Studio Professional subscriptions have an allowance for 2 incidents. These support incidents are good for up to 1 year from the benefit activation, and benefit activation must occur while the subscription is current. To activate this benefit, you'll first need to open up a chat with support and provide the representative with various details, such as your country and region, your company name, of course, your name, so I know what to call you, really, and then your email address so they can reach out to you. But make sure you use the one in your subscription. You'll also want to include your subscription ID, which can be found in the Subscriptions tab. You'll then receive an email containing your contract ID and access ID to use when creating a support incident, along with detailed instructions for submitting a support incident. You also have access to other support resources directly from the benefits page as well. Now let's go through these. So first up, we have the Azure Community tile. This is where you can get help directly from the Azure team within these select forums, speaking directly to the product groups that maintain each Azure product. Next up, we have the Developer Community Forum support. This is where you can post questions, find answers, and share your knowledge in the developer community forums directly. Now, the chances are, if you're experiencing an issue, someone else probably is as well. Community forums are a fantastic resource to leverage. Now, do you have a technical product question? The next best place to go for this is the Microsoft Q&A place, the home for technical questions and answers at Microsoft. You also have access to the Microsoft technical community. This is a fantastic online community of users where you can connect and engage with fellow users and Microsoft technical experts on anything related around best practices, design architecture, and the latest updates. Last but not least, we have the concierge chat. Now, the concierge chat is available 24/7, and this is a service that provides assistance finding you product information and technical documentation, as well as help with your Visual Studio subscription benefits. Now, while the chat is available 24/7, it's currently only available in English. And don't forget about the Get Help page for support with subscriptions, account-related issues, as well as Visual Studio subscriptions documentation, which has been linked down below in the video description. Well, that's it for today. I want to thank you all for watching. While licensing is a messy place, you now have clarity as to how it works and the multitude of benefits that come with it. I'm April Edwards, and I look forward to showing you more about how to use all the bits and pieces to help you get the most out of your subscription. Check out the resources linked in the description below, and let us know in the comments if there are any specific topics you'd like to see in a future episode. So go forth and write awesome code.